I want to um, talk about some of the dating issues that are going on today because let's be honest here, let's be real, especially if you are in the US, in America, there are a lot of social dating issues going on right now in the love and dating world. If you are single or if you are looking for marriage or whatever, okay? Um, and with everything that's going on between these red pill channels, and if you don't know what red pill is, just type it in the search, red pill. You're gonna see a lot of podcasts because every guy now, especially depending on what community they're from, you know, feels like they have to have a podcast. You know, men everywhere, especially if you're a black man, finally feel like finally a way to have our voice heard because we don't feel heard, which is funny. Um, I'm not a man, but I feel like if you want your voice heard, your voice could have been heard. You guys just have to learn how to speak and communicate. And what's funny about that is women for how many years, decades, and centuries been complaining about men and their lack of communication. You know, for so long, women have been complaining about men and their lack of communication when it comes to love, dating, and relationships. And then men say, oh, we're not being heard and we haven't been heard and finally we're going to be heard. Okay. It's a matter of, um, sometimes I think people want to be heard, but they don't want to hear the other person in their perspective. And that could go both ways on either end between men and women. You got passport boys and passport girls, though it's more prevalent to hear passport boys because women been traveling overseas and falling in love for so long and have never made a big deal about it. But it's become a big deal with the men, especially black men now. And I'll say black men because men of other races, especially white men, have been out there being passport boys, especially if you, and no matter what race you are, if you're in the military, you definitely know about all that and that lifestyle. But men of other races been traveling overseas and having their fun and meeting women to marry for a long time. It's just now, I guess now black men are jumping on this bandwagon like, yeah, we can go overseas and get us a wife or a woman that's going to be submissive and passive and this and that other. And, you know, it's funny because you're getting called out for this, and not just by American women or black women, but by also by women and people, period, overseas because they don't like this because it's become a I don't want to say it's predatory, but it's starting to feel that way to some people overseas, and it's starting to look that way to some degree because they're really not going about it the right way. And it's because these particular guys really, they never really had the social skills to begin with to deal with women in their own home country. And if you can't figure out how to tend to play this role of being submissive and sweet and endearing and doing everything you want because they want their papers or they feel like you have money as an American, because you have to remember Americans are looked at as rich and wealthy when we go to other places, whether they are actually accurate, you know, depictions of us or not, you know what I'm saying? And so they will play that role. And I've seen it in real life, you know, people that I know and whatnot, and even from some of my own experiences, how some people will be, okay, when it comes to ulterior motives, when it comes to somebody from another country versus even if they claim they're going to stay in those countries and be with that person there. It's still this whole thing of everybody thinks that Americans are rich and are going to provide a certain type of lifestyle. So whether you guys are aware of any of this or not, because I'm aware that my audience is not, I don't really talk about these things, on this level, but I'm going to talk about them because a lot of my audience, you guys have a strong interest in love and relationships. And you guys often come to my channel to look at videos to get, insight about your love life. And that's what majority of my clients are. So I feel like I should talk about this, but this is going to pertain mostly to people within the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., but maybe you might be seeing the same thing. If you are living in a westernized type country, then you still might see some of these issues, or you might not. But this is definitely going to pertain mostly to people who live within the U.S. It's especially going to pertain to people who are considered Black or African American in the U.S. It can pertain to other people as well, because everything I'm talking about is not just towards the Black community or whatever. It is also just anybody in the U.S. Okay, so I was pointing out passport boys and passport girls, and pointing out, the red pill channels like Kevin Samuels, Andrew Tate. There are some others, and it's interesting. Some of the other channels that they may be popular, but their name don't come to mind because they're not as popular as the Kevin Samuels or the Andrew Tates. We're seeing more and more, because we live in a digital age, some of these red pill influencers / podcasters be exposed for their hypocritical ways and standards. They'll say one thing and then say another, like this one guy, I can't remember his name, but if you go to Abba and Preach, their channel here on YouTube, they more recently, a week ago, covered a podcaster / red pill influencer, this Black guy who, he has a white girlfriend. She's actually a few years older than him, and she has a child, but all this time, this man has portrayed her in a lie. He portrayed her to be younger than what she is, to be a single mother, and to do all the things that he claims that women are supposed to do, to be in their feminine energy and whatnot. And he claimed that she's everything that he said he would never deal with. He said, men shouldn't be dealing with or taking single moms seriously, and they shouldn't deal with women over the age of, a lot of these red pill channels will say if a woman is in her 30s and up, she's no longer anybody worth taking an interest in or taking seriously. This guy jumped from that to saying that women in their doggone 20s, and literally like 25 and up. And so that's where he caught a lot of people off guard, and he started catching flack because they're like, wait a minute, so now women 25 and up are no longer any good? He just started spewing a lot of rhetoric that really was just pure nonsense. And so people started investigating him, because this is the digital age, and you better believe if you're online, you're going to get investigated in some form. So make sure you stand by what you're saying, and that you're not portraying yourself to be something that you're not, just to pander to an audience, because you have a lot of these red pill channels pandering. It's not to say there aren't any channels out here pandering to women as well, but there's far more, incidences of channels and podcasts pandering to men, telling them what they want to hear, because they realize there's a lot of angry, bitter men who take no accountability for their part and why they are disappointed in their love life, because it isn't all women that are bad. Any guy who says, "Oh, most women are just this and that," and they're not taking accountability. They're not choosing right either, you know. Um, but there's a lot of channels pandering to men because it's a big thing. You know, I could literally start a channel right now, just start pandering to men, and I promise you, it would blow up overnight because these guys want to hear what they want to hear. And so when there's potential to grab a large audience and make money off of it, because YouTube channels can be monetized, and not only can it be monetized, but there's opportunities elsewhere to start promoting other things like products on one's channel and this and that and other, so they could receive revenue off of the monetizing, receive donations, push a product, and people have to start paying attention to how authentic is this person and this influencer and this channel or this platform when they clearly can make money off of it and build themselves up to be something that they may or may not be. Okay, so people need to learn to think for themselves, because when you have the opportunity to make money off of people by telling them what they want to hear, guess what? Plenty of people are going to copycat, and they're going to do exactly that. They're going to do exactly that. And their motives are not going to be that they care about you and your best interest, that they really want to change the world for the better or to make it a better place. They really just want to fill their pockets and get that money, because people need their money. People want to make a living. And a lot of people, frankly, they want to quit their 9-to-5 jobs or whatever it is that they do. And some people just want to be idolized. You have to be careful of that. We live in a very narcissistic society where you have a lot of people that they want the spotlight on them because it just feeds their ego. And narcissists love to have their ego fed. They love the attention. They love to hear people tell them that they're right, and they will tell people whatever they want to hear just as long as it feeds their ego. Okay? And so when you have those types of, things to really look at, is everything out here worth taking in consideration when you're in the dating world? Right now, things are probably worse than they've ever been when it comes to love and dating. And this, I feel, is for anybody. It was once believed that, oh, there's more women than there is men, especially if you're in the Black community, and that, men have the upper hand. It doesn't seem that way anymore, because there are actual stats and reports that men, especially Black men, not all, but sometimes it's other races too, are more lonely than they've ever been before. And they are also not in their best health because of their singleness and their loneliness. Because why? Because usually, and this has been statistically known for a long time and research wise, that people who have healthy love and healthy partnerships and healthy marriages, they tend to live longer, especially the men, because the women are helping take care of these men. Whereas a lot of times if they stay single, they're not going to have the same healthy habits brought to them by the influence of a good woman who's cooking good healthy meals for them, or at least encouraging them to eat healthier, even if they're eating out or if they're both partaking in cooking the meals or whatever. They're not going to have somebody there to tell them, hey, that looks serious, you might want to go to the doctor for that, and continually encourage them to go, because a lot of times a man will be sick and he won't go to the doctor. I remember my mom saying this. I remember my dad telling me this so many times, that my dad would get injured or hurt and it'd be something really serious, but he wouldn't go to the doctor until my mom would get on his case and be like, listen, this is serious. You need to go to the doctor. Please go. And she look up some, doctors for him to go to. And, he'd be like, I don't, sometimes he didn't want to go to a traditional doctor because he just wasn't too comfortable with what they were going to do to treat him. So she'd look up a holistic natural doctor to send him to. And that would get him to let his guard down, and, she'd reassure him this is going to work out. And he'd go, and it would. And he'd go and find out things were way more serious than he realized. And that, by my mother encouraged him to go to the doctor, and, even helping find him somebody to go to and set the appointment, he, saved himself a hassle of his health declining massively or losing a limb, like literally. You know what I'm saying? My dad will attest to this and have told me many times that thanks to my mom, he's doing fine. And my mom has told me this, So I remember seeing my great grandfather, when my great grandmother passed. We call her Big Ma, we call him Big Dad. When, Big Ma passed, he didn't, about a year or two later, he passed. And the reason why is because there was nobody there to take care of him any longer, And so, and it left him vulnerable, And it's not to say that all men are going to be this way. My father has taken very good care of himself as a single divorced man, However, he knows a lot about health. He grew up, with health. He taught us all health, He even taught my mom some things. And he also still has his children, myself and my siblings, to, get on his case about these things, Okay, I can now have my video up because I am now parked. So, you guys, it really does make a difference to have support. I wish I had a stand to put this on. I got to get a new stand, you guys. But it makes a difference to have that support, for a man, and even for a woman to some degree, depending on what the situation is. But getting back to my main point, if I can remember, because I was driving and trying to talk at the same time. You guys, you have to hold people accountable for what they're out here spewing, Like I said, guys today more than ever are single, and they're not happy. You know what I'm saying? They're not happy and they're single. Now, some of you are going to say, well, that ain't true for me. Great for you, but there are plenty who aren't. And you have this one influencer among many who are out here telling men they don't need women, or telling, men that they need to nitpick good women and overlook some good women simply because they may have a child, or simply because they in lying say, oh, you have to take care of another kid, when that child is probably already taken care of by their actual other parent. It's horrible that these channels would make assumptions that single mothers, especially single Black mothers, don't have active fathers and other family members actively helping in that child's life and helping provide for them financially and giving them a father figure in their lives, and whatnot. And so they would assume that if they get with this woman, that, they got to take care of that child financially and this and that other, and that it's going to be a difficult situation. All a bunch of stuff that isn't true for every situation. They're telling, dudes to, hey, if she's 30 and up, she in a danger zone, or she's no good, and she probably has a high body count. All those like really silly, ridiculous things that may not necessarily be true, or it's just absurd. Okay. I mean, people have to be careful to not buy into this stuff. Then you have the channels where, I'm not going to say who, because I'm going to go ahead and say it. You got people feeling some type of way about Derek Jackson, but let me tell you this. I still stand by his channel. Why? Because I've said this to friends, and I don't know where else I've said this. I know I've said this elsewhere, probably not here because this isn't that type of channel, but who else better than a man to tell women what to look out for when it comes to players, F-boys, narcissists, cheaters, whatever, right? Who better than the type of guy who's actually out here doing these things to tell women how to spot them and how to look out for them and how to deal with them? Okay? Just because he ain't doing right by his wife, who he's now divorcing, doesn't mean that he can't tell you how to recognize a man who's not doing right by you or isn't going to, and this is how to deal with them. It's on his wife as to how she handled the situation with her own husband, with him, and I don't like judging them because nobody's perfect, but is anything the man said a lie? No. He told the women exactly how to spot out players, cheaters, F-boys, narcissists. So, and how to deal with them or to know what to expect and what not to expect. He didn't set women up for a failure and say that men have to be perfect or are going to be perfect and you need to be rigid with them. He just told women to put yourselves first, love yourself first, and not deal with these type of behaviors and to walk away. There's plenty of channels telling women this, and men getting mad about it. And it's like, why? How about do better instead of being mad that these men are exposing some of you who are like this to women? You got women out here who are not great women. I'm sorry, I don't know why my eyebrow looks taller than other. You have women out here who are no good women. And I'm aware some of you men have had that experience, unfortunately. That doesn't mean all women are like this. So stop with the whole modern women. How about choose better? How about no matter who you are, if you are a man or a woman, and you want a traditional or a hybrid, as Don P says, you can look up his channel. He's a good channel. If you, in a hybrid is somebody who's a cross between traditional and modern values and behaviors when it comes to love and marriage. If you're traditional and when it comes to love and marriage, then you are operating by the standards that a woman is a nurturer and she may be a stay-at-home wife and a stay-at-home mother, nurturing her family, cooking, cleaning, and tending to the family. If you're traditional, man, that value is a man is going to be a provider and a protector, and his wife doesn't have to go to work because he can provide for her and the children. Okay, this doesn't mean controlling anybody or being controlled when it comes to traditional love and marriage. Sorry guys, I went to the gym today, so my hair is not looking the best because I just came from the gym. Anyway, if you're a hybrid, you are a cross between modern, which is a woman and a man working and splitting the bills down 50-50, or at least splitting it down, 70-30 or whatever, where the man may pay most of the bills, but the woman pays some of the bills and then save the rest of the money for retirement and vacations, or whatever. And y'all may share roles equally if you're doing the 50-50 with raising the children and cooking and cleaning, or y'all may moderate it between 70-30 depending on who contributes to what. Okay, that's more modern. If you're hybrid, then you are mixing those two together. Okay, you're mixing those two together where there's still traditionalness, but there's also modernness mixed in between. Okay, That's really where that 70-30 may come from versus the 50-50. Modern, I would say, is more 50-50. Hybrid, maybe more 70-30 or 80-20. You know, the man might pay the mortgage, and but maybe the woman might buy the groceries or something, and pay a light bill or whatever. You know, and they both have their turns to some degree in who's helping with the children or whatever other responsibilities, you know, but they ultimately make that distinction for themselves, okay, the same way the modern couple would. Traditional, it's already set that you gonna follow the traditional roles that God has set for man and woman, okay. So in today's time, you got a lot of men saying they want traditional feminine women. However, they're not traditional masculine men. You know, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want the traditional woman cooking and cleaning, but then they also want her to work and split them bills down 50-50 or whatever, and also to have the babies and take care of them, nurturing them and whatnot. That automatically puts a woman in a position where she's going to be doing more than that man. And this is why in today's time, women are so run down in their marriages, and they're tired. They're just tired. They're tired because they have to do so much more. And nobody really, in a lot of cases, has been willing to admit this, It's just women walking around talking about, I can do it all. But after a while, you're going to realize, no, you can't. No, you can't. You can try, but you're going to be run down, and you're soon going to be looking for that vacation. And deep within inside, you may not express this on the outside, but deep down somewhere within you, you feel a little bit of resentment. Okay? You feel a bit of resentment. This is where the attitude comes in that men claim they feel from women. It's a natural resistance to women being overwhelmed because she's expected to do too much or so much. And just because she's capable of doing so doesn't mean it's actually mentally, emotionally healthy for her in the long run or at all. Okay. There's nothing wrong with a man wanting traditionalness, but you have to be fully honest with yourself. Are you a provider? Are you a provider? Are you a protector? And if you are not able to be fully a provider and protector, then you need to be willing to compromise on what it is that you're looking for from women, and be prepared that a woman is going to be a bit less in her feminine energy, because it's going to put a strain on her to have to help carry the load that you should be carrying. I think men shouldn't even be focused on women and getting any until they are in a position to provide and be the best version of themselves. I think women shouldn't be worried about men and getting any until she is in the best version of herself and confident in telling a man, hey, this is what I want. Can you provide it? Meaning, if you know you want the man to carry most of the load and be more traditional, it's okay, sis. It's okay. You don't have to keep feeling the pressure that you have to do it all, because you don't really have to. You just have to find the man who is capable of doing so. And you got men out here who say, that's not realistic. Most men on average by stats make an income of $45,000. Stats are not 100% accurate, because there's a thing called outliers. And there's also a thing called, some people don't necessarily report correctly or don't report at all. Okay. So taking that into consideration, just because a lot of men aren't in the position to be providers now doesn't mean they can't go and become providers down the line. All it requires is for that man to recognize where he's at, look at what potential there is for him to grow and expand his income, whether he starts investing in stock and real estate, or he start investing in real, investing in um, himself, getting a better education or vocational training to get a higher paying type job in either a blue collar field that plays really well or in a white collar type of position that pays really well, or he invested in himself in starting a business, and he can even start it with his partner, you know. But it's, or he could start on his own. But it's one of those things, there's really not a lot of excuses for men to say, well, I'm not capable. You also could pick up an extra job. But hey, if you pick up that extra job, or you're putting in all this energy and effort and work, then, and you're able to be a provider, then hey, you have the right to request a traditional woman. Especially, I mean, but you got to be willing to be that traditional man and be a provider and protector. A woman ultimately has no problem with being more in her feminine energy and being more of a nurturer and making sacrifices to be a stay-at-home mom and wife, either for the first few years of her kid's life or maybe even more permanently, but she has to be able to trust you. A lot of women don't trust men because they feel like the moment they give up their job, their career, and their income, or at least part of that, that a man is going to have control over her. Okay? As I was told by my grandmother and my mother, a woman should always have a savings no matter what, whether it's known or it's kept secret. So that if you find yourself in some kind of uncomfortable situation, you can get out of it. Or if an emergency comes up, there's emergency money for whatever expenses that need to be paid for in the family, and therefore you're able to help relieve, your partner. Who says a stay-at-home wife can't have a business that she runs from home, or a business on the side, or make money doing gigs on the side or whatever in her spare time, if she has the ability to do so? It just means that she doesn't have to bear the burden of doing half of all them bills and expenses and mortgages, or she doesn't have to pay majority of it. Therefore, she's more able to be in a position to stay at home with her children rather than be out here having to go back to work after a few weeks of having her child, or a few months. you know um I don't know, you guys, you got to think about these things. You have to be the energy you want to be. Now, you got, women up in arms about passport bros, and they're fighting this so hard, and it's like, you don't have to care, ladies, about American men choosing to go overseas to find love, especially if you're from a certain particular community. And I'm going to say black women, this is because this is a big issue in the black community. How about love is colorblind? Love is colorblind. You may want, as a black woman, a black man. However, if they are not available and they don't fit the qualifications, or they do not want you, then sis, go find love where it is. Go find who does want you. Love is colorblind, and there are plenty of men of other races that come in different skin tones and facial features and hair textures and different, what sizes. You know what I'm saying? Different, I'm gonna say D sizes, because I know some black women, they stay stuck on black men because they feel like they're worried about, what kind of swag a dude have. Does swag really pay the bills? Is swag really gonna make you happy in the long run if who you dealing with is not able to be a good man? You know what I'm saying? I guess we need to go with, is the swag or a man's package size, D size or whatever, does that matter if that man can't be a provider, or if he doesn't bring enough to the table to even comfortably pay 50-50 or 70-30 or whatever? If he doesn't even want to commit or settle down, or doesn't value you enough to commit and settle down and find somebody else, Becky or whoever, to be more of value to settle down with. Like, no matter who you are, black or white, you should not limit your options for love. You should open your heart to knowing that love can come in all forms, okay? That means race, ethnicity should not be the 100% deciding factor. Heck, religion shouldn't even be. Even though I know people should be equally yoked so that they don't argue about things of that sort, but love is colorblind. And if you're limiting your dating options, then it's going to frustrate you, okay? Um, because I can't be bothered to care about a passport boy. I can laugh about it because there's a lot of things that they don't realize that they are um, going to bring on themselves that might be negative, because they don't understand that a lot of the issues they're having in dating isn't necessarily boiled down to society and so-called modern women as much as where it's what's in them. You are what you attract. You know what I'm saying? You're going to attract whatever it is you are. So wherever you go, there you will be. Okay, there you will be. You can't run from yourself. And a true high vibrational masculine man, not a misogynistic low vibrational one, not a narcissistic low vibrational masculine, but a high vibrational masculine man who is confident, who is secure, who is ruled and guided by God, not by his ego and not by society telling him, oh, you have to, you know what I'm saying? A true high vibrational masculine man knows how to and will, without hardly really having to do anything outside of his usual character, will literally come across women and they will become more feminine around this man. You know, they will be more feminine around this type of man because he brings it out of them. And vice versa, same thing. Ladies, if you are a high vibrational feminine woman, you know, you're a high vibrational feminine, you will naturally bring out the high vibrational masculine in a man. Now, some, they gonna fight hard on it. So you either are patient or you move on to somebody who's already there. And the same thing for you guys, vice versa. If that woman isn't already high vibrational feminine, or you don't have the patience to allow her to progress to that through you being a high vibrational masculine, then move it on forward. You know, ain't no need to sit there and bash all women or all men and say, oh, you ain't this, you ain't that. That's not the solution. And that's the real problem today. People aren't finding solutions to the issues and all the divisiveness in love and dating today in society. They're more so looking to point the finger and blame with no accountability. And that's where the real problem comes in. There's a need for accountability. There's a need for everybody to get to a therapist and a counselor on their own, by themselves, and with whoever it is that they're trying to be with. If you found someone who you feel you could be in a relationship with and maybe considering marriage, you have to do the work individually to be the best you and to be a high vibrational, positive, best version of yourself. And so does the other person, and you both should be working on this together with each other in a relationship, especially if you're headed towards marriage. You know, that's the solution. Stop listening to these red pill channels. Stop listening to any channels pandering. Stop listening to your friends and your family members telling you what you want and what to do, and you have to be this, you have to be that, or telling you you're not this and you're not that. Those are problems. Those are issues, and it's going to continue to cause more problems. So what I really want to say in essence is, in order to succeed in love, dating, and marriage, tune out the rest of the world. Connect with God and connect within yourself. Okay? And then trust and follow what makes sense. And connect with somebody who's been happily married, you know? So I gotta go, you guys. Peace and love. Comment below. Let me know what you think.